Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in on this week's episode. I talk about bear markets are for building and why they are because I don't know if you noticed, but I actually missed 2 weeks. And I'll be honest with you, it went by so quick. I didn't even realize that I did. Life has been crazy. So I'll get into that and we can talk about, the Bitcoin price and all that craziness. But yeah, it is today. Today is September 20th. 2022, and the price of Bitcoin is not great. Um, but while I'm looking that price of Bitcoin up, I want to remind you to get yourself a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. Go to shiftcrypto.ch/Bitcoin made simple and use the promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off and get yourself a hardware wallet and get yourself a Bitbox because it is sleek. It is a beautiful design, simple, easy to use. And I want you to protect your keys because, yeah, it's any minute now that any exchange could go belly up. So want to make sure we're protecting that, protecting your most valuable asset, your most valuable financial asset, which would be your Bitcoin. No question about it. So, yeah, the price of Bitcoin is 19,000, like on the nose. So it's a little crazy because I mean, the price of everything is going up except Bitcoin. The price of groceries, the price of gas, the price of being alive. Um, so yeah, it's a little crazy. And I don't know if I've shared this on podcasts or what, or maybe I was uh on Daniel Prince's. I don't know if he released it yet. And I've kind of talked about it, but I'm like, man, I really, really thought, and I've told friends this too, like I thought that Bitcoin would happen in lockstep with the price of Bitcoin would go up in lockstep with the to hedge against it's a hedge against inflation, is my point. Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. And so I thought that initially, when that would happen, it would just happen in lockstep. The inflation would rise and run away, and the price of Bitcoin would rise and run away with it. A lot of people have made the comparison to 1930s Weimar Republic, and the volatility of the price of gold. So if you have not looked into that, I don't have the exact numbers on it, but in the 1930s Weimar Republic, which was Germany between World War One and World War Two. They had an insane inflationary event. For those of you that don't know, I'll just recap briefly. It got so they were trying to pay off their reparations or whatever they had to pay for everything that all the damage they caused in Europe in World War One. And so they just started printing the German marks so that they could pay it off faster, and that led to a hyperinflationary event. And it got to the point where people were taking wheelbarrows of cash to the grocery store to buy like a loaf of bread. And there's a famous picture of someone, it's a woman that is burning, millions and millions of dollars worth of German marks um, in order to heat her house because it was cheaper to burn the actual paper money than it was to go buy coal with it. Um, I kind of find that I always thought, okay, we're going to get into that moment and that'll happen. But what happened there with gold was if you look at the price of gold during that time in relation to the German mark, it was actually insanely volatile. So you would think, again, it would have gone lockstep, something you could store your wealth in. Um, and it didn't work that way. So I have learned that that probably is what the case is with Bitcoin. Our friend Luke likes to say that the 4 year cycles are dead and they're going to be shorter cycles. I don't know, maybe. I also know because our friend Phil is, all in on how Jerome Powell is trying to reclaim dollar supremacy, which I kind of believe is what's happening. And with that, we have a lot of factors playing into the price of Bitcoin. A lot of things that are uh just so many external factors. So Bitcoin has to sit there and fight off all of them, defend them all, and play against them all simultaneously. So it's not just going to happen in lockstep with inflation. Um, it could break to the low side. Like me personally, I would love to see to scoop up some sats in the 12 to $14,000 range. That would be wonderful. Um, but it also could break to the high side. And so I think, again, this is not financial advice. And if anything, I think I think this podcast you guys know by now, but if anything, I mean, it's kind of like turning into I don't know, like my venting on the Bitcoin space. Like I'm poking into subjects that I want to talk about, and I'll get into why I have been so busy and um, just kind of not been able to do interviews lately because life's been crazy. But yeah, it's not financial advice, but just don't spend money. Don't spend more than you can afford on Bitcoin. Don't buy more Bitcoin than you can afford because that's how you get in trouble. Um, Only buy Bitcoin with money that you would be okay putting in a savings account for 4+ years. I recommend you hold it longer, but just point being is that if you have a savings strategy where you take money and set it aside, this is my long-term savings. Um, I would put it into Bitcoin. I would not necessarily, if it's money that you're depending on for years and years into the future. So things that you're putting into your retirement, things like that, I guess you might want to put that onto Bitcoin. I don't know. But my point being is that we don't want to get wrecked in the short term um, because prices are running out of control. Like I've had my in-laws and my parents both like say at different times, like, well, how are you guys dealing with these prices of groceries and stuff? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, we're dealing with them, like, taking it on the chin. They're like, I couldn't imagine if this happened while we have kids. Like, yeah, yeah, it kind of sucks. I won't sit here and pretend that like I'm the most worst off person in the world. And I breaks my heart that there's people that have it. Um, like the people that are truly, truly living paycheck to paycheck. um how do you deal with this? How do you protect against this inflation? And so there's really no way unless you're able you know to set aside some cash. But in the short term, my point being the short term protection against inflation doesn't really exist. um the best way to protect against it is to trim your spending, tighten your belt, lower your monthly overhead as best you can, and then protect. Because that's what you got to do. And if you do that and you're not overexposing yourself, if it's like I said, if it's money that you can hold on to for years and set aside and not touch, then that means you're in a good place because you are setting it and forgetting. A lot of you are the DCA army, the dollar cost average army, and I suggest that everybody do that and plow away, keep plowing away into the Bitcoin, into your stash, just adding more. But don't do more than you can afford because we've seen a lot of people have got wrecked by over leveraging themselves, whether it be in the shitcoin casino or whatever, and whether they've come out and said it or not. There's people that have just lost huge portions of their stack because they thought it's going to the moon, no doubt. I was one of those more. I didn't lose, thank God. I didn't lose. I mean, I've this 2022 tax year, I'll have a tax loss. There's no doubt about that. Um, but there's a lot of people that maybe over leveraged and kind of got wrecked. And so that's why you see some capitulation. See some capitulation on some folks in the Bitcoin space. And I'm not going to say some of them are like really capitulating, like Bitcoin Tina. I saw a lot of people were saying like, oh, he sold his sats, which I think he did sell a good portion or almost all or whatever. But he's in a different. I don't know his personal situation, but I'm just making assumptions. And you have to keep this in mind whenever you're, looking at other people's actions. First of all, we really shouldn't be sitting around judging other people's actions, because how does that affect you? If unless it doesn't affect you, then just move on with your life. But but if I had to guess, he sounds like an older man, not just because he has the picture of Lewis Black, so he looks older, his avatar, but he sounds older. I'm gonna guess in the boomer range, age wise, and you know, he probably got out over his skis and got too exposed because we know what that's like. I mean, we all are like Bitcoin's the best asset you could ever buy. So whenever the price falls to a certain point, like whenever it fell into the 30s in the summer of 2021, it was like, holy crap, buy as much as you can. I can't believe I never thought I would see it in this price range again. Buy, 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 buy. So it was like, you're flipping over your couches, looking, shaking out coins from everywhere. And whenever it comes to your your portfolios, you're probably sitting there looking like, what could I exchange for Bitcoin here? Um, and that's a dangerous game to play whenever you could, let's just say it is a something, if you're a boomer and it's something that you're getting a dividend on that helps pay for your month to month overhead, it pays for your life. And the price of Bitcoin falls to the 30s in the summer of 2021. And then you're like, you know what? I know, like, I can't believe it came down this low. If I flip this asset into that, then I will buy so much Bitcoin in the 30s here that it'll just pay off exponentially as it goes on its meteoric rise. And then here we are, and it's a year later, and the price of Bitcoin is at 19,000, and you're not getting that dividend or whatever it was, and you have lost the value. So, uh, yeah, and I think like there might be some people listening to this going like, oh, like don't be a wuss, buy as much Bitcoin as possible, blah blah blah. Um, but the people that are out there not complaining about the price of Bitcoin, I've noticed. I would bet, like I'd be able to bet significantly. I'd be pretty sure that they are the ones that have not overexposed themselves. Um, they keep a level head. Doesn't mean like, I mean, I don't own anything but Bitcoin. Um, I mean, I guess like my house counts, but and like a car, but yeah, like I don't have other assets. None that I'm aware of, at least. So if anybody wants to randomly send me one, I'll take it and convert it into Bitcoin because I'm not living off of that. I'm living off of my monthly living. Well, I'm trying to make a monthly living. It's kind of hard when you're an entrepreneur and you're just like you live paycheck to paycheck, but they're much bigger paychecks and much farther in between. Um, so if any of you entrepreneurs are out there, you'll know what that's like. It is gut wrenching. Sometimes makes you stay up at night, laying there staring at the ceiling, going like, God, I don't, I really hope by Christmas time, all the shit hasn't hit the fan. But anyways, so yeah, so there's some boomers that maybe got overexposed and over leveraged, out over their skis and had to dial it back. And yeah, I just take it from all the people that are just taking it easy and buying what they can afford to buy. They are the ones that aren't panicking. um and it's really you guys. I think it's a lot of you that listen that are part of that DCA army, because I know I have a lot of you plebs that hit me up and we DM and stuff, and I can tell you guys are the part of the DCA army. You're working blue collar, white collar jobs, whatever it may be, but you're just pounding away, mining fiat so that you can mine more fiat and buy more Bitcoin with it. And then because of that, you're not really sweating the price. And it's a beautiful thing to see whenever people are getting there. And it just it's a shame that I wasn't there earlier. And I kind of found it. I fell into it backwards. I guess I fell backwards into this and lucked out that I had to sell some at the over, like, let's just say the only Bitcoin I ever sold was um Bitcoin that I had to sell to buy my house, because we were, I think I've explained on the podcast before, but because we hadn't sold our home that we were living in at the same time as buying our new house. So I had to sell some of that, um, and then the price crashed, and I was able, when we sold the other houses, like months later, able to buy back in. But looking back on it during that time, I was like, oh my God, I was over leveraged, especially for someone that was shopping for a house, like shopping for a house, and all that money that I had that I needed. I mean, I know real estate's a shit coin, so whatever, but you need a place to live. And all that money that I needed to put down a down payment on the house could have evaporated, pretty quickly with this volatile price swing. So, like, just looking back on, it, I'm like, God, that was stupid. Like, I was playing with fire there. And so I'm lucky and fortunate that I was forced to sell when I did. It wasn't at the tippy top, but it was way higher than it is now. Um, and it just, I don't know. I learned my lesson. If you check out my Bitcoin magazine article that I wrote, I thought this time was different. I think this is the experience that most plebs have had whenever they get in, especially now. This is like the third cycle. So if you're like me, class of 2020, um, and I'm sure everybody that's got into Bitcoin before, they thought this is different. This time it's different. It's going to change. It's completely different than the last time. This is the time that it goes to a zillion, or whatever. Anyways, so yeah, don't be sweating the price. And the best way to do that is to not be spending money or using money that you shouldn't be touching. So you still have to live. You still have to kick the can down the road a little bit further. Um, and uh, and yeah, but Bitcoin, like I said at the beginning, bear markets are for building. I heard that so many times before, and I always was like, yeah, yeah, whatever. And I thought that just meant, like, for people building in the Bitcoin ecosystem or the Bitcoin world. And like Movies Plus, I mean, has, obviously like a Bitcoin flavor to it because it's owned by a Bitcoin maxi. And we have like every Bitcoin doc available on there. And we have the Hard Money Show, all that kind of stuff. Like I said before to people, I can't we're a freedom of speech platform. So if somebody comes to me with an Ethereum doc, I have to play it because we're just providing a platform to allow people to share their voices. My theory behind why there aren't a lot of Ethereum documentaries is because they don't want you to see that it is a piece of total garbage. And so if you did a documentary on it, it's really hard to polish a turd. Um, you can only put so much shoe polish on that turd, and without people being able to see through it. So it's just much easier for all these shitcoin scams for them to sit there and it let you fall for their marketing or try and trick you with their marketing without, telling a story about it. Because if they do a 90-minute documentary on any of these shitcoins, it's gonna be hard for anybody to go, oh yeah, that sounds like ultrasound money. Um, and also anyone that's out there that, like, the easiest argument, if you're if anyone says that something's better than Bitcoin, the easiest way to shut that down is to say it isn't, because it has a central point of failure. It has a CEO. It has a it has a CEO. It has a person or a place that can be have its door knocked on and be told by somebody to shut it down. And that does not exist in Bitcoin, because there are so many nodes spread around the world. There are so many miners spread around the world, and you can't go around. There's no Satoshi that, even if Satoshi revealed himself, um, it would not be possible to shut it down. He'd be like, "There's nothing I can do about it." And that's a beautiful thing. But anyway, so we have a Bitcoin flavor at Movies Plus. I always heard bear markets are for building, and I thought that meant specifically to the bear market. or that meant specifically to the Bitcoin companies. But what I'm learning is that it's a great thing for any company or yourself personally, whatever you're building. Um, if you want to own an ice cream shop in your local town, then go do it. Build the ice cream shop. Start building your business, building your entrepreneurial background, your infrastructure, everything. Because right now, I totally get during the bull run. It during the bull run, it is a euphoric experience, and all anyone wants to talk about is how the price of Bitcoin is going to the moon. But right now, it's like really quiet. That's outside of the fact that I've been busy. It's also not as easy to get interviews right now because people like not a lot of people are eager to talk about Bitcoin. Um, and it's just like it's just quieted down to like this feels like this room of like all of us like maxis that just sit there and like keep nodding at each other like, yep, hey, we're still here, still adding to our stack. So yeah, so it's a little quiet in the Bitcoin space, and it's a great time to put your head down and build. And I will use an analogy um for building. It's like, what do they say? How do you? I mean, there's many analogies, but how do you eat an elephant? Wipe one bite at a time or whatever. I don't recommend eating elephant because I've never done it, but I'm sure you can. There's somebody that's out there that's a meatitarian. One of the carnivores will tell me how good elephant is for you. Even though they're probably endangered or whatever, and that's probably like I'll probably get yelled at and put on some kind of list for even mentioning that. But um, whenever we would play, so you guys, some of I played hockey through college. And in playing hockey, we would train. My coach was nuts. He was my high school coach, and then he actually then I kind of followed my college career. He'd come to a lot of my games for different reasons and whatnot. And then in the summertime, we'd um we'd get together and train like we did in high school. But it would just be me and him, maybe one other person, maybe two sometimes. But anyways, we would go to the ski slopes. So I guess first of all, you have to live somewhere that has ski slopes. Um, and we would sprint up ski slopes because a hockey shift, they like there's interval training. For a hockey shift, you go like 45 seconds all out, and then you come to the bench and you're exhausted, and you recover over a 2 minute period, and then get back out there 45 seconds all out. So interval training is big. So doing stuff like sprinting up a ski slope, full speed, not lightly jogging, full speed sprint from the bottom to the top. Usually they take, I mean, they weren't like, the Rocky Mountain ski slopes, but I think they would take like a minute and a half to sprint to the top. And if you've ever done it, your quads will be burning, your calves are burning, every part of you is wants to die. Sometimes you will barf while running full speed. My wife still can't believe that I would do that, but yeah, it's you know, it's really character building, but also great endurance training for hockey and builds the strength in your legs and whatnot for skating. Um, but whenever I started doing that when I was in like eighth grade, and I was like dying. And um uh my coach Shannon, he came over and said, he's like, look, just focus on the spot 3 feet in front of you while you're running. And when you get to that spot, pick the next spot. So you pick that spot, that's your goal. So you have your head down, you're just chugging away, your legs are chugging away, you're going up the hill, and you pick that spot 3 feet in front of you, and you get there and you accomplish that. You keep going, you keep going. And before you know it, you're at the top of the mountain. And that worked. That really worked for training and running up ski slopes. So I've kind of had that mindset with business too, is that like, you put your head down and just keep looking 3 feet in front of you and getting little goals and accomplishing them. And so yeah, we've been doing that with Movies Plus. That's my point. And Movies Plus has been absolutely on fire. So for those of you that don't know, we released on Movies Plus, we released the documentary called The Most Canceled Man in America. And it is about a man named Nick Fuentes, who has been deplatformed from everything. And so this is not a documentary to like support Nick or whatever in his views. It is a to tell a story about what happened to him, um, and how ridiculous it is that he got canceled the way he did, and blah blah blah. And so we had a pretty significant influx of good customer growth from releasing that doc. And that's also come with its challenges because then people have been attacking us, saying that we're, garbage, giving a platform to a garbage human being. Um, but we're standing up for free speech, no matter whose speech it is. So and it's not even about his message and what his message is. It's about what happened to him. So it's just insane. And we had a great uh, return with that. We had a great first month. But I've just been crazy busy with that because we then also are launching our originals. Which, oh, by the way, I should plug, you should go to mymoviesplus.com and if you're not a subscriber, use the promo code Cory, Cory, and you'll get 20% off. So that's $2 a month for an annual subscription. You can't beat $2 a month because we don't have ads in our content and we have exclusive content. For example, the most canceled man in America, you cannot find that anywhere else. It is only on Movies Plus. And we're releasing our originals, which obviously are exclusive as well. Um, so yeah, so use the promo code Cory, get 20% off. It'll bring the price down to $2 a month for an annual subscription. Um, and we have a ton of Bitcoin content there as well. So, but yeah, we did that. We released that most canceled man in America. Then we have our first original coming out on Friday, actually on the 23rd, called Welcome Home, about a Iraq War veteran coming home, uh, dealing with PTSD, and also dealing with white supremacists trying to get him out of his house, get him to leave their town, his town. And so yeah, it's a good story. I think you guys will enjoy it, and I hope you guys check it out. And then we'll actually be doing a Twitter space on the 25th. So you'll probably be able to find that out there somewhere. Maybe I'll record it and play it back through here. Um, but yeah, it'll just be about the document or about the film, not a documentary, but about the film, with the filmmaker David Lugo, who directed it. And then after that, we have oh, that was the worst drum roll ever. We have Q Sent Me, which I think I mentioned before, but Q Sent Me is about the Q shaman. And if you don't know who that is, if you just remember from the Capitol riot, quote unquote, um, it is the guy that was wearing the buffalo headdress with the blue and red face paint. I think you all remember him. We have the only interviews with this gentleman. Nobody else has this footage. And then we also in this docu series, he was interviewed on January 7th. So actually between January 6th and and then it shows like the craziness of a couple of days before he gets arrested. But I mean, the guy's like, he called the FBI himself, like, oh, and he's like a QAnon conspiracy theorist. So it's an interesting story. I've been telling people it is the Tiger King of January 6th. That's the best way to describe it. So that is going to be coming out at the beginning of November, and we'll be releasing one episode a month over a 3 month period. I know that sounds like we're teasing it out, but it's actually the opposite. We're um, churning it out as fast as we possibly can. We just have to. There's a lot of editing and work. It's being worked on as we speak. So the first episode will be able to get out will be in November, but the second one won't be ready until December. So we wanted to get out there early and then try a different. Then we thought about holding it back. We're like, oh, do we hold it back, release them all at the same time? But we just thought we'd try something different. Get it out there when we can, and then allow you to consume it, enjoy it, and then do it once a month. And it's a little different than other platforms. I mean, I think even Netflix is starting to. I think Netflix is starting to toy with the idea of doing weekly releases for some of their shows. So yeah, it's just a, we're doing it's we were restricted um from a workflow standpoint, but then we figured it was worth a try and see if people enjoy consuming it that way. So the good news is if you use that promo code Corey, you will have your subscription through the whole 3 month period. Um, but then we have other stuff going up too. So we have after that we'll be releasing a I can't tell if it's gonna be, it might be a series, it might be a doc, but it's called Stop the Steal, and it follows Ali Alexander and his Stop the Steal movement as they went around trying to stop the steal, quote unquote, steal of the election. Think of that however you will. I don't care what your thoughts are. I don't care either way. Um, but it was an interesting thing to document and follow, and it's pretty interesting. So yeah, all that stuff and much more coming. And the business is growing. With that comes different things. So it's just a lot more to manage. We actually have like a team building. And then Phil Gibson, you guys know Phil. Um, Phil is hoping to join, and I'm hoping he can join our team. I tell him he will be the first, full-time employee of Movies Plus if we can get this to work out. We just I have to be able to, we have to figure out how we're going to deploy capital, and everything. But the more subscriptions that come in, the more support we have to do things like that. And it's not like we're just paying people just to pay them. I mean, we need to as we grow. So um, look at it that way. If you were signing up for Movies Plus, I know it sounds like a really long commercial, but really, I'm just saying, if you're signing up for Movies Plus, you were voting for free speech and supporting a pleb platform, and supporting other people, creating jobs, doing all that good stuff. So I don't forget where it started. I mean, honestly, until we had this like big bump with the exclusive content, I feel like the it was the plebs that were carrying us. So, because I've told you guys before, but most of the most viewed content was the Bitcoin content, and you guys carried the weight and helped us survive to this point. Um, so yeah, we're hoping we have some other comedians coming on to Sam Tripoli. We have three of his specials up there. And we have a lot of exciting things. People that you'll be really surprised to see whenever they come on. And lots of exciting conversations happening behind the curtain that I can't disclose at the moment. But yeah, it's exciting. And I do want to remind you right now to get yourself a BitBox02 hardware wallet. Go to shiftcrypto.ch/Bitcoin made simple. Use the promo code Bitcoin made simple to get 5% off. Protect your keys, please. Protect your keys, please. Um, I'm sure that's what BitBox wants out of their ad read is some dweeby uh dork sitting there. Protect your keys, please. Although maybe that would work. We'll run an ad for them. Do it that way. But yeah. Oh, okay. Bear markets are for building. Corey, you've talked about it yourself enough. So move on with your life. Yeah, Bitcoin mining. I just wrote when I was making like bullet points of what I wanted to talk about during this. I said Bitcoin mining regrets question mark. I don't regret it. Because again, I bought it with money that I was okay not using for a while. Um, would I have rather bought Bitcoin with it? Probably not, because the same machine that I bought would cost more Bitcoin now than it did then. If I if I had a crystal ball and knew that the price was gonna fall by half when I buy it, would I have um bought it then? I don't know. I maybe would have just held for a little bit, but ultimately, if you're in it, if you have a long enough time horizon, you're in it for the right reason. You're doing the right thing. You're going to be rewarded. And like, I'm not looking to turn around and sell the sats now. So if you look at it, like, the hash price has really fallen. um if you look at the hash price, it doesn't look very profitable at the moment. um but we know that the price is going to go up eventually, so just hold. It is crazy though that we are in the midst of this. I don't know, what are we, like, 60 some percent correction at the moment? Like, let's see, we have calculator calculator. If you're a Parks and Rec fan, you'll know what that means. um Calculator, we were at, what do we hit? We hit like 69,000, I believe. uh we're at 19,000, so that is 73% drop in Bitcoin price. And we've so 73% drop in Bitcoin price. The price of everything else is going up. And the other crazy thing that's not supposed to happen, if you are, new to Bitcoin and thinking, oh, this is all going up and to the right, is that the right now we're at an all-time hash rate for Bitcoin. Like, there is more Bitcoin mining happening right now than anywhere at any time. And so that means it's more difficult to mine Bitcoin after a 73. That makes sense, doesn't it? Of course, that's how it happened. Of course, that's how I did it. Like, when does Cory get into Bitcoin mining? I hate using the third person, but like, this is kind of making fun of myself. When do I get into the Bitcoin mining? I get into the Bitcoin mining right whenever the price is about to fall off a cliff and the hash rate is going to go to all-time highs. That's when I do it. So that's the genius that did that. um but to me, I think that kind of sets the floor, because basically, like, if I'm a business and I'm mining Bitcoin, um but I have enough cash to hold, then I'm going to be holding. And I think, on the way down, like, there's different, like, Compass Mining was one, and other places that had to capitulate and sell their Bitcoin, um, because maybe they were too over leveraged, they were too exposed. Um, but if you have enough reserves, you can pay for the electricity now and just be stacking sats at an insane rate. Well, not an insane rate, because a hash price is an all-time high, or a hash rate is at an all-time high, but you can get through these tough times and stack sats when few others are. And then when the price rises, you'll be good. So I don't know. I look at it, it might help set a floor, um, but it might help on the way down, because you'll have people that it might speed the price going down, because you have people capitulating, you have companies capitulating that need to sell Bitcoin in order to pay for their electrical bill. But then on the way up, you have it could be on a meteoric rise, and you could have the companies that really held through the bear market, didn't capitulate, didn't sell any Bitcoin, but what they've done is depleted a good portion of their cash reserves. And by the way, just so you know, I'm walking through this mentally, like, as I talk, so I'm just working through this live. But they've depleted their cash reserves, so they need to refill those in order to survive the next bear market. So if they're selling whenever the price gets back up to all-time highs, don't be complaining, because they're doing it so that they can survive through the downturns. Everybody will probably have their own calculation on how they do that, and in the order in which they do that. At what price point do they trigger certain cells and whatnot? So I don't know. I think that mining has a way to set a floor, but also a way to set a ceiling for certain parts of cycles. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's I don't regret it though, even though it basically at this point is a DCA machine. Um, that's why I look at it, is that basically my electrical bill for the miner is like $250 a month or something like that. And I'm maybe getting like though I mean this last month or two has been rough, basically getting like $260 worth of Bitcoin. So woohoo, $10 in profit. Um, but yeah, I just look at it as instead of DCAing through, an exchange or something, I'm doing it through my electrical company and getting myself some KYC free sats. Um, so anyways, yeah, I still recommend if you can afford it, it's a great way to go. Buy yourself some mining equipment and get started. At least get your feet wet if you can afford to do it. But another thought, this is more my deep thought of the day, my deep thought of the day, um, is been thinking about, and I know people go, oh, why you bring religion into it? I'm bringing religion in for a specific reason. Um, so those of you that don't know, I am Catholic. I guess you would say I'm a devout Catholic. Uh, you could classify me as that. But that also doesn't mean that I don't have problems with the hierarchy in the certain decisions that are made. The church isn't perfect. Um, and anyway, so my reason for bringing that up is because I kind of talked about it when I was on Princey's podcast, but um, I become like really uncomfortable with uh with how money is intertwined, how money gets intertwined with religion. And let's just look at it this way, for example. So even if you are just an atheist or whatever and you don't care, walk this journey with me. Um, you know, this mental exercise. But I've said before, Jesus, the only time Jesus was ever showed really any anger is whenever the money changers were using the temple, his father's house. They were using the temple as a place to as a market, and they were taking advantage of people. And what is it? One of the things he talks about a lot is uh, you know like taxes, and not necessarily like oh, you need taxes to pay for roads, but more like the tax collectors cheating the other people. And you know that's kind of like the rent seekers, like the rent seekers we see in the world today, like just putting like a little premium on their services to do basically nothing in order to make money and extract wealth from others, which by extracting wealth from others, you're stealing their time from them, and their time is their most valuable asset. Um, so anyways, so you look at his life and you look at how he, lived a humble life and basically lived on the road, and backpacking from town to town, and setting up camp, and living a very poor life, and living a life without much money, and just trusting that that God would provide for their needs. Um, so then you juxtapose that with this image I saw somebody shared, a meme, um, and it was the image of Pope Francis at the altar, like surrounded by like gold, and it just really, really rubs me the wrong way. Like I'm just really uncomfortable with that, you know, um, because you look at that and you look at, and then like mega churches, things like that, and all the money that people make off of it. Um, and I'm not saying that like, I mean, because priests generally do live like a life of modesty, like, like a priest salary isn't anything great, but the institution itself, it's like, I don't know, like, does the Vatican need all that like artwork and gold and money? I mean, I know everything needs money, but like, I don't know. It's like it's kind of like, is that really what Jesus wanted? Like, I don't know. I don't think so, because as far as I can tell, he was never a fan of people controlling and taking wealth. He wanted to give to the poor and everything. So I don't know. It just has me in a, it makes me uncomfortable thinking about that. Um, but whenever I think about the, the Bitcoiners, and it doesn't have to be that you're all religious or whatever, you don't. But by and large, the Bitcoiners are very charitable. And the good Bitcoiners want to see other are the types that would help others out in need. And we've seen awesome examples of that with like people donating to Hodonot as he deals with his Craig Wright court case and stuff like that. When plebs are in need, plebs reach out and help. So, even some of you guys, when we lost the baby over the winter, some of you just sent me money to get a meal. Like, that's crazy. And you have no idea how much that meant, and how basically like desperate was I was at the time. I've talked about it before, but like I was just, you know, we were trying to sell a house. We had just moved into a new house. I had no idea. Honestly, I had very, very little idea what our financial picture was. So every time we spent money, it was a stress, an incredible weight. And I had to be making a lot of meals during that time while my wife wasn't was recovering. And yeah, I mean, one of those things is like life changing, and it's the smallest little, token, the smallest little appreciation, sign or something that you can give. So, be charitable towards others, always, be helping each other out. And hopefully Movies Plus will be so successful one day that I can just turn to a life of pure philanthropy, and that would be awesome. It'd be a great direction to go in. But for the time being, I do have to make a living. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to share that thought. It, you know, I think we all, as Bitcoiners, become less comfortable with uh with showing wealth as you get more into Bitcoin. Not necessarily as your stack of Bitcoin grows. I mean, you become more wealthy from Bitcoin. It's just, the meme is funny. It's like a Bitcoiner drives around in like, a crappy car and stuff, and like, um, and it could be more true because I think we just kind of get that like money isn't really about the money aspect. Money is about your time. And so it's not about flashy clothes, it's not about this, that, the other thing. It's about how much time do you have and how do you use your time. So, anyways, I think that is enough for me rambling now. Had a lot of thoughts on my mind. I promise you, I will be kicking this back up. I got to get some interviews. If you have any people you want me to interview, just hit me with some suggestions. But yeah, I've been just getting my head above water to be able to take a breath, relax, and share my thoughts with you guys. I'll try to do this weekly, even if I don't have an interview lined up. I'll just get you guys something, get you my thoughts, give you some updates on what's going on with Movies Plus. And yeah, so yeah, check out Welcome Home, Movies Plus first original. Oh, by the way, our TikTok account got banned. So I guess so much for free speech on TikTok. I don't think they really work for free speech, but it's kind of ironic that the freedom of speech platform was banned from TikTok, suspended just for our trailers. It was weird. I don't know. Somebody might be like reporting us because they just don't like us. I don't know. Maybe it's Netflix. Just kidding, Netflix. But yeah. So, anyways, make sure one more time, I gotta remind you guys to get a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet and get yourself a nice hardware wallet that'll protect your keys, and you will be able to sleep soundly at night knowing that your corn is in a safe place. So I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next week.